Morning, everyone. Sorry it's been a few days. It's the reason I don't work. Normal everyday things wear me out pretty easily, and I have been exhausted, and I'm still pretty tired today. I'm gonna muscle through. Not a lot planned. It's supposed to be super hot out. Probably just have as chill of a day as possible. A little bit I got to do this afternoon, and something I'd like to go enjoy if I have the energy later. But anyway, so I want to get back to my story in hopes to help other people going through the same things. 2 videos ago, I just put up a super short video the other night when I was tired, just to kind of give you guys a quick end of the day check-in and tell you what happens when I get super tired. And I believe the last time I left off, I was about 9 months into when I originally got sick. So at that point, I had switched to a new provider in Boston for my breathing. I had a primary pulmonologist back home, but a specialist in Boston. And after the first, doctor told me it might be my body habitus, which just was trying to be a nice way of telling me I was fat. I brought pictures of myself with me to the next doctor. And that's when they, ordered a cardiopulmonary stress test, which showed that my, breathing was very, very, very poor. But they couldn't really figure out why. I'd had a lot of tests that just kept coming back negative. I mean, they had done everything they felt like they could do to try to figure out what was going on with me. I mean, there were a couple other things that were a little more invasive that they hadn't tried yet, but the doctor suggested I change my meds. With my primary pulmonologist, he didn't want to do my meds, which I totally understand. So I went back to my primary pulmonologist, and I remember, again, he was a friend and a colleague, and he just wanted me better. He just wanted me back to work. And it had been almost, we're coming up on a year at this point that I had been out. And he handed me a bag full of brand new asthma medications. They were trials from the office because they were that new at the time. And he looked right at me and he said, "I don't know if I'm helping you. I really hope that I am." And because we both knew that it wasn't probably just my breathing, that there was something bigger going on that we just weren't figuring out. The medicines he put me on helped my asthma significantly. The problem was my breathing wasn't all my asthma. It was partly the Ellers that we didn't know that I had. It was partly because I had become so deconditioned so quick because of all of the high-dose prednisone and because of how bad my breathing was for so long, that the Ellers was now making it close to impossible to rehab, even though I was doing the things they told me I should be doing. On top of all of this, we weren't having an income for 6 months from me at all, which was making things very financially stressed at home. We had made some other changes in the family that were positive changes, but add more stress, if that makes sense. If you have a family, you get that. And, we're still not really having any answers. We still really don't understand why I'm getting super dizzy. We still don't really understand why I'm getting chest pain. We still don't really understand why I can't remember anything. You're, as a critical care nurse, you have to be on the ball. You have to be organized. You have to be prepared. And I could remember, I didn't write anything down ever. It was rare. If I wrote it down, it was, just in case, for an emergency, but mostly for someone else's reference. So I didn't have to repeat it. I could do what I needed to be doing. I know that sounds awful, but it's true. I could remember things for days about patients. I could remember their medical histories, their vital signs, their labs, the interventions we had done, and how those had affected labs or vital signs and specifics. And I'm not telling you that to be cool. I'm just telling you that because they're facts. And it shows you how good my memory was. And it shows you how good cognitively I was. And here we are, I'm a year into being sick, and I'm not even kidding you. I would forget whether or not I'd eaten some days. I would forget important things. And, I was trying to go to rehab. I was trying to still help manage a family. I actually had a family member start doing my bills for me, because when I mean I'd forget important things, like 6 months I didn't go without pay. I couldn't pay some of my things. And when you contact your creditors, they're willing to work with you. I forgot. I just never did it. And then I was, having to play catch up with that. So I had a family member, thank the gods, who was kind enough to help me manage the household bills so that they were getting paid appropriately. Once I started getting my private disability insurance through the hospital I worked for, and I thank the gods for the people at the hospital who went to bat for me, to make sure that kicked in, because that was a hard time getting them to approve that. Because we didn't have any real answers, up until I had that test that said I had almost no breathing reserve, and that put the nail in the coffin. They had to cover me at that point. But it takes time for that stuff to happen. And you have to struggle through until, that stuff kicks in. And even then, all of the money that I got that was retroactive had to go back towards paying back people and catching up on bills. And there was no money left. It's not like, oh, we got this windfall. Like, by the time I caught up on bills and got things done that needed to be taken care of, it was gone again. And it was month to month again. And that's when, my family member helped us. And again, I made plenty of money for things to get paid, but, it had to start coming in. And that's very fortunate for me. There are a lot of people in my situation who end up being ill, who don't have a private long-term disability through whatever company they work for. It's not easy to work with those people when you're already sick. When you're already sick and you already don't feel good and you can barely remember, you're already depressed, you're already whatever, and you're barely remembering to do the things that you need to do so that you and your family can, be normal and be healthy. It's really hard to now, I got to gather 18 things from doctors and make sure they get into the insurance company right. And I got to make sure that I figure out how to do that, because there isn't always a way to do it when you're at home. I got to figure out, all of that stuff on top of the day-to-day stress of, having a family. And, the family comes first sometimes. So, well, not sometimes, always. So I can't even tell you how many people probably wouldn't have been able to do that, or wouldn't have had the support that I had to help me make sure that stuff got done. Thank God for my nursing that teaches me to utilize my resources, and that I live in a very kind community who, and when I went to the library to look stuff up, the very lovely woman there showed me how to get some stuff done, things like that, you just don't know how to do until you're trying to figure it out. And a lot of people are embarrassed to try to go figure that stuff out. And that stops them from doing it. And I knew that me and my family needed help, so I went and got things done. But it was really hard. And then in the middle of that, trying to do rehab, they wanted me to do this pulmonary rehab. They didn't have any spots available in their acute program. They had spots available in their long-term program. So you go in a couple of, 2-3 times a week and you work out. And I tried to go, 3 or 4 times. My breathing was so poor and my body was so, there was a 96-year-old man next to me during the warm up. And this isn't even to be funny, but it is funny. I was 36. There is I just turned 36. There is a 90-something-year-old man, I'm not even kidding you, next to me in warm up with oxygen. Nah, I didn't have oxygen on. I was breathing so heavy during warm up that he offered me some of his oxygen. And I'm not going to use his name, but I was like, I'm all set. Why don't you keep that? You might need that later. I said, but I may need it a little bit. Save some for me. It was a joke. But seriously, that's how bad I was breathing. I would try to push myself on the equipment a little bit because I knew that I needed to start pushing myself. And I would start getting chest pain, which of course, there's a medical provider right there, is going to get nervous. I mean, I'd like talk them down and tell them it was normal and that, my doctors didn't have any reason to believe it was cardiogenic, which means it was my heart. And that, I just needed to try to push through it, but they would slow the machines down. So now I'm not making the progress. So, here I am trying to do the right thing, but I can't do it in the setting that they're giving me to do it in. So now it looks like I'm not doing what they want me to be doing. In the middle of all this, once the long-term disability insurance approved me, they want me to apply for Social Security disability. A lot of people balk at that. I didn't want to believe that I wasn't going to be able to go back to work in a full-time fashion at some point. I didn't want to be on disability. I had a private long-term disability. I didn't want to start taking money that I didn't need to start taking. They insist it's part of the contract that you apply for, Social Security. So I did. So now I'm already feeling like crap about myself. I'm already trying to tell myself I'm going to get myself better and go back to work. I'm trying to do the things, and the way that they were trying to have me do them was not working for me. It was making me feel worse. Now I have to apply for Social Security. Social Security denies me. They deny everybody, I guess. There's also lawyers that work through long-term disability that are, have been very kind and have been helping me. So this all takes a long time for this all stuff to happen. So, I get the first refusal from long-term disability or from Social Security, which I'm not surprised about. Like I said, everybody does. I am very fortunate in the fact that, again, this long-term disability company, they don't want to pay all of it. They want me to get on Social Security so they only have to pay the difference, because I did make a good amount of money. So they're having to pay me a decent amount of money. And they want their money back. Anyway. So at that point, we're coming up into 2017. So this all started in November of 2015. You go ahead the 9 months. Kind of through that winter is when we changed. My breathing got a little bit. My asthma got better with the new breathing medications. And I'm trying to do the pulmonary rehab. I'm doing all of the things, applying for everything. My long-term disability gets approved. We're going into the beginning of 2016 now. I'm sorry, 2017 now. So I had started getting some back pain in my spine. And it wasn't even pain, it was pressure, almost like you're getting an epidural. I'm just checking, and I have no idea how long this video is going today. I don't know why it's not telling me. And it was really uncomfortable. And I had finally switched my doctors now because I've had to apply for the Social Security, and I've applied for state services because my insurance ran out through the hospital. And I paid Cobra for a long time, which was ridiculous. And it got to a point where I couldn't afford the Cobra anymore. So I had applied for the state services, and because I was temporarily disabled, I got on their Medicaid. So I had to switch all of my doctors now, because now I'm on New Hampshire Medicaid. So I have to switch to all New Hampshire doctors because I can't go to Mass anymore. They're not going to cover me. So I made an appointment to go see my new primary care physician here in New Hampshire, and for my back. Because like I said, I'm getting this part. I can't get comfortable in any position that I'm in. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if I've thrown a disc out. I don't know how on earth I would have done that, because honestly, this was the point where I'd started doing literally 20 minutes of work at a time. And this is what worked for me. After trying their pulmonary rehab, after trying their, all their stuff, I read something that said if a project seems really big, to start doing it 20 minutes at a time a day. So that works for most people who have, crazy lives. And, they have this big project they need to get done. So this is your hint. If you have a crazy life and you have a big project that needs to get done, it seems crazy, work on it 20 minutes a day. You can find 20 minutes, I guarantee you, if you really want to. But what I took that as, 20 minutes at a time. Let's try that. So 20 minutes at a time didn't work, by the way. I had to drop it to 15 to start. But I would do 15 minutes of light housework. And I mean light housework. I mean like folding laundry, maybe doing the dishes, maybe wiping off the counters, things like that. And I would rest for 20 minutes to half an hour, and I would do it again. 15 to 20 minutes of light housework. Very light housework. I'm not talking about lifting. Anytime I tried to lift something and carry something, I got extreme chest pain. I got chest pain for 5 hours one day because I carried the laundry basket 100 feet from the bathroom to the washer so I could wash laundry. 5 hours. of chest pain bad enough that I couldn't do anything else, and so dizzy along with it that I couldn't do anything else. Now, at this point, my doctors are telling me it's not my heart. I'm a nurse. I know I'm breathing well. I know my other stuff is all right. It's just kind of something I'm dealing with. Most people, I think, would be freaking out. I didn't, because like I said, I'd had all these tests. They really didn't think there was anything horrible wrong with me. If I go to the hospital, they're going to admit me to tele and do a whole bunch of tests that are going to come back negative, and I don't want to deal with that. I don't have time for that. I'm trying to get myself better. So, like I said, I cannot tell. Oh, there it is, 15 minutes. All right, I'm just going to talk a few minutes longer. I'm going to get up to the point of, you'll see. Anyway, so I went to the doctor, made an appointment with my new physician who I had not seen yet. She's an NP. And I had seen her work with my husband. I really liked that she didn't just focus when she saw him because his doctor was away. And I watched her. And, you know, being in healthcare myself, I know what to look for in a good provider. She didn't just focus on what he was there for. She made sure she went over all of his symptoms, asked about a lot of different things, and made sure that none of those were correlating to exactly why he was there, or if those things weren't being managed right, why. And just seeing him for a sick visit. And I really liked that. That's someone that I needed. Someone who wasn't just going to focus on the fact that I had breathing issues, but try to figure out why this is going on. So I had asked her, she was full, her practice was full, but I had asked her to please take me on. And she did, because my husband was already a part of the practice she was in as well. And I was very, very fortunate. She is still my primary care provider. And she is actually the one who first mentioned she thought I might have what I do have. She was the first one that noticed, an NP in the doctor's office who, you know, I think a lot of people want to see the doctor because they think they know more. Well, the NP is the one that took the time to listen to me. The NP, out of all the specialists that I had, was the one that said, I think this is what you have looking at your global picture. So I went in to see her for the first time about my back pain. She was curious as to why a CAT scan had never been done about my lungs, even though we were there about my back. She wanted to get a CAT scan. So we talked about the back pain stuff. It seemed a little odd to her, but she just said, rest it, blah, 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 which is what they would normally do. I don't take pain medications. I didn't want anything for pain. Again, I think she gave me, I already had a prescription for Flexeril that she might have refilled in case it was muscle spasms. And I went in for the CAT scan a couple days later. Things move pretty quick when, you know, things are being done for certain reasons. So I get a CAT scan of my lungs, and the day before Valentine's Day, February 13th of 2017, she called me with my CAT scan results. And she said my lungs looked all right. There was a mass in the tail of my pancreas that was fairly large. It was in the tail of my pancreas, not on the tail of my pancreas. And that she was very concerned that it was cancer. My daughter was sitting on my lap. I was laying on the couch because, again, my back's killing me. I was laying on the couch. My daughter was sitting on me, and I couldn't move fast enough. I could not get out from underneath her because I just thought she was going to tell me the CAT scan was fine, you know, and that we were going to have to move on to something else. I was going to go see pulmonology at Dartmouth, which I knew. I did not expect to find a mass in my pancreas. And as a nurse, as a critical care nurse, and as some of you may know, pancreatic cancer is a killer. Usually by the time you find the signs, it's too late. She was very concerned. She was sending me to the head of the pancreatic cancer clinic at Dartmouth. And I then had to tell my family and my husband that I may have cancer. And if you look up the statistics on a mass that size in the tail of the pancreas, there is a very low chance that it isn't cancer, and there's only like a 7% 1-year mortality rate by the time they find them. Talk about a wake-up call. Now, I was already, trying my best, but I might die now. I might die. So I'm going to end this at this because there's a lot more to go with this. But what I am going to tell you, because I don't want to leave you hanging, I think that's mean. It wasn't cancer. It was a cyst. All my Irish luck went to that one thing. And I will tell you how we got there and the things that happened during that time period next time. But these are the things people have to deal with. this story, I'm not telling this to be cool. I'm not telling this because it's about me. I'm telling this because I want to show the world, I want to show people what it's like for people when something like this happens, what we have to go through day by day, the road bumps that we hit, how we feel, how it affects our families, how it affects, and I'm not talking a lot about my family because, like I said, a lot of things that have happened are a global story to share, and we had discussed that this is not the time to do that. So I'm telling you how I feel and a little bit of, that stuff, and that's it right now. This affected everyone and everything and every relationship that I had and every activity that I had. I couldn't do any of the things I used to do to manage my stress. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't, be the mom, the sister, the daughter, the friend. I couldn't even be who I was for myself anymore. And now I might die. That's what I thought at the time. And we thought that for like a month before I saw someone who told me otherwise. So some big things happened in that month. I will share next time. I hope you guys are all having a great day. I want to keep these fairly short so they're reasonable for people to watch. Again, I'm not doing this for pity. I am great. I am actually super, super lucky that the universe has done this. Most people wouldn't look at it that way. I'm not crazy. I've found meaning in what has happened to me. And that, I can tell you right now, is how people get over feeling horrible about what is happening to them, is to find meaning in it. When you find true meaning in what has happened to you, which is what I feel like I've done, that is when you can excel no matter what your body or mind or situation makes it seem like. So that's the message I want to get out there. Like I said, I'm going to end this now. It's getting way too long for what I'd like for these to be. I want you guys to all have a wonderful day. Treat each other well. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. Get the whole story. Don't be an asshole. I'm supposed to say the like, share, comment, subscribe, those things. Again, I got a very nice message from a friend the other day that literally almost made me cry in front of a large portion of the town because I happened to open it up when I was at a community event doing a fundraiser. And I almost started crying because it was so sweet that my video had affected her in the way that it had. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me. And if that's the only thing that comes out of these videos is that I affected her like that, I made her feel that good. And I have had some other people reach out and tell me that they've really appreciate these. That is all I care about. So I hope you guys are all doing well. If you need some extra support, I do run an online support page just where I post positive things, and I post, little tidbits and things like that where people can share their stories in a private environment. So if you know me personally, you can reach out to me on Facebook. And I will add you. I'm trying to keep the group fairly small so that it doesn't go crazy. I have a hard time keeping up with stuff, obviously. It's going to take me a while to get my message out there in totality. And because I can't do this stuff a lot. I'm exhausted, as you can probably tell, because my eyes look like they're about to close this whole video. And it's just from sheer exhaustion. And probably the fact I'm only had a half a cup of coffee. Have a wonderful day, guys. Love and light. Bye.